But Geoff, as you hear, is a pretty busy dude. He has a lot of responsibility. Okay, this is what men do. A lot of responsibility, not only to his family, his job. He's got a couple different other organizations that he's in charge of. Started a school in Uganda. Okay, that's just something he does. He's also a chaplain for the San Diego Padres. He's been in that role for 15 years, you said?
15 years.
Okay, doesn't get paid for that, but shows up and helps those guys on their spiritual journey. So, talking about a man who has a lot of responsibility. This is him. So, anyways, let's put our hands together. Thanks
for the opportunity to be here. People ask me sometimes, what's your favorite animal? I usually say teenage boys. I was a youth pastor for 17 years right over here at Green Valley Church. Some of you might be familiar with that church. Maybe that's the time that goes there. Been in this area a long time, and I really appreciate the opportunity to come and be with you. The idea of responsibility, even as I'm listening to the things that have been said, starts getting my mind spinning. So I want to share just a couple thoughts with you about responsibility, but also a couple stories to sort of illustrate it. When I think of responsibility, I think of all these things: ownership, accountability, all those words go with it. But what I want to also put in there as a word for you to consider is the word trust, okay? And another way to say trust, or when you're entrusted with something, is also to be a steward. So, for me, being a pastor for a lot of years and a chaplain, we talk about stewardship. And stewardship doesn't just mean like what you do with your money, it means what you do with what's been entrusted to you. So what I want you just to write down, a question for yourself to consider is, what have I been entrusted with? Okay? Because responsibility can mean a lot of different things. It can mean like, I'm going to take the blame for this, or I'm in charge of this, or I have ownership. But I think it's very helpful for me to recognize that I have been entrusted with things, starting with myself. Okay, and so as Coach McCoy was saying, I have the opportunity to serve as a chaplain for the San Diego Padres. Essentially, I'm like a youth pastor to a bunch of teenagers that never really grew up, right? I always tell people, they go, "What do you do?" I'm like, "Well, I have like a youth group for guys, but it's on steroids. Literally, it's on steroids." I'm just joking. Essentially what we do is we get together on Sundays and we do like little 15, 20-minute time. We just spend some time in the Bible or whatever, pulling out some principles, some ideas. I do it with the home team. I do it with the visiting team. I meet with the umpires. I'm like one of the only people who actually has access to the umpires before a game. And then out of that, I find the different guys who are spiritual, who are Christian guys, who want to grow in their own faith and their own walk. And then we develop that relationship. We spend time in Bible study. We actually do some service outreach projects together. We kind of put some action to our faith. But my goal with each of those men is to treat them as a man, as a person. I think it's very easy to see athletes, especially, and professional athletes, even more so. You see them for their talent and their ability and their celebrity and their fame and the mark that they made in the sport, but you lose the fact that they are a human being. They're a person. And every single one of us at our core, there's a part of us that's always like a little 12-year-old boy. You know what I mean? It never leaves you. No matter your age or your stage of life, there's always a part of you that sort of just like wonders what's next, or if you have what it takes. So I want you to just consider, what is it you've been stewarded with? What have you been entrusted with? I remember the day I got my driver's license. How many of you guys here have your license? Drive? I know like it's kind of popular nowadays to wait till you're like 17 or 18 or whatever. I got my license the day I could get my license when I turned 16. My birthday was on a Saturday. I had a D&D appointment on Monday. I got my license, but I remember the feeling of being entrusted with the privilege of driving a car. And it's kind of like, dude, I want the freedom, I want the ability, and I lived way out in the boonies in Valley Center, like 35 minutes away from my high school. Like, if I had to ride the bus for like an hour every morning, get up at 6, get on the bus at 6:15. School started at 7:25 back in the day. early, and I remember like, I want to sleep like an extra 30 minutes. I need to get my license so I can go later. You know what I mean? But the day I got my license was like in the afternoon. I left practice, went to the DMV and got my license, and then the next day I was driving to school. But back in the 90s, I could drive my friends to school. You didn't have to wait a couple years to go to driver buddies or whatever. And I remember I'm driving over on the way to school. I went to pick my buddy Brian and my buddy Hoel. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, maybe they should have just got on the bus. Like, maybe I should have more practice before actually, like, I'm going to take these guys to school. And, like, I'm thinking to myself as I'm driving, like, why are they letting me do this? You know what I'm saying? You get that, like, I'm driving like I could kill somebody, like, instantly. I mean, somehow the state of California entrusts you with the privilege, but it can be taken from you, right? I mean, I have always through my life, I remember there's these different feelings, these different moments where you go in, when you recognize, man, I have been entrusted with something. You have been entrusted, first of all, with yourself. With the talents, the abilities, the personality, the experiences, the mind, the relationships, the family that you have, the people that are around you. You've been entrusted with those things, and what are you going to do with that responsibility? What are you going to do with it? Are you going to take ownership like they've been talking about, or are you going to blame? I think Coach was talking about this blaming, right, and making excuses. I would add a third. These are the killers of responsibility, right? Blaming, excuses. The third one is, I would say, complaining. That's just the gateway to making excuses. So I consider complaining, excusing, and blaming the killers of me taking responsibility for the things in my own life. And I think it's important to recognize that one of your jobs as you mature, as you grow up, as you become a young man, and you take on extra responsibilities, part of the goal and part of the opportunity there is to steward that thing. That means you're going to take care of it. You're going to take care of it. How do you take care of the things that have been entrusted to you? I would say very, very simply, number one, you've got to recognize the value of what it is that's been given to you and entrusted to you. My grandma used to talk about trust all the time, because she broke the trust of her adopted father when she was 14, and she said, I never got it back. She always talked about how it only takes 1 second for you to break somebody's trust, but it could take a lifetime to try to earn that thing back. When you want to be a responsible person, you recognize the value of being trustworthy and being dependable. It doesn't mean you don't make mistakes. You guys, we all make mistakes. And it's okay to make mistakes. The question is, what do you do when you make a mistake? Do you own it? Do you own up to it? Do you learn from it? The new manager, who's a baseball fan in here? Who knows the new manager of the Padres? Just got hired the offseason? Craig Stanley. So Craig's one of my closest friends in the game of baseball. He was a player for us for like 6.5 years. Was a pitcher, and actually Craig, from the first time I ever met Craig was actually at a Bible study, and he was at Chapel. We sometimes did one-on-ones because nobody else came. He and I'm really excited that he's in charge, because Craig is the kind of person, even when something isn't his job to do, he still knows that it's in his sphere of influence. You know what I'm saying? He's the kind of person, because he cares about the team and he also cares about his teammates, he makes things sort of his responsibility. Does that make sense? It's not like he's thinking, I got to tell everybody what to do. He's not saying he's in control of those things, but what he's doing is saying, this is part of what it means to be part of this team, is I care about all 26 guys that are in this clubhouse together. I care about the support staff who's here. I care about our clubbies. I care about the security guard. I care about the coaches. So I want to get to know them. I want to see how can we work. And I'm really excited just to see what he's going to be able to bring, because what I know happens to Craig, I saw Craig. Okay, so we had chapel on a Sunday. So we usually meet like 3 hours before the game or so. We have chapel, games at 1 o'clock, chapel like 10 or something like that. We did chapel one day, and then Craig actually kind of read the passage for us, and I often will get players to sort of share or kind of give a thought or an illustration. And then I remember that day I stuck around for the game, and the Padres are doing really well. I think they were heading like 6-4 or something like that. Craig comes in like the 7th inning. Home run. Okay, all right, shake it off, right? And then next pitch, home run. He gave up 4 consecutive home runs, solo shots. And we went from being ahead by 2 to down by 2. We lost the game, and it's like, when he's at his locker after the game, and then guess who comes up to him, right? They got the ring light, and they got the cell phone in his face, and they're like, what happened to you? And then if you read comments, right, on threads or whatever, it's like, why was this guy on our team? He sucks. I don't care what he's done in the past. You know, it's always like, what have you done for me lately, right? And so what are you going to do in that situation? Obviously, you're in this place, you're in this role, you didn't do a great job, and you could say they called the wrong pitch, right? You could say, I ate the wrong thing this morning, whatever it is. And he just said, you know what? It happens. I'm focused on tomorrow. I wish I wouldn't have done that, but I'm just going to move forward. I don't know what else to tell you. Those guys are good hitters, and I didn't have it today, you know? Or is he just going to start shifting the blame around or making excuses or all the reasons why, you know, who cares, you know? You own up to it. And then when he's a manager now, so what he's going to have to do is own up to other people's mistakes and say they're his, right? This is what a good leader does, a good coach does, or a good manager does, is they're going to see their players fail. And what are they going to do? Own it. You know what? I can do better. Starts with me. Starts with me. So here's what I want to encourage you to do. I want to give you 2 thoughts. And this just comes from my life and my experience with kind of counseling young men. People come to, you know, when you're a pastor or whatever, people come to you and they want to talk about this situation in their life and their family, a relationship or whatever. If you're going to come and you're going to talk about what's going on in your life, you might want to come and say, you know what, my parents, they're just on my case. And then you begin, my coach, you know, or my teacher, they're just like, I don't have any time. This one class is just, they give me so much action. When you come to talk to me, you know what the first thing we're going to do? We're going to look in the mirror. Okay? So responsibility starts with you looking in the mirror first. So make this your knee-jerk reaction. It doesn't mean everything, like Coach was saying, not everything is your fault. But when something is your responsibility, it means I need to say, what can I do? What did I contribute? What can I do better? What can I do differently? What can I do? You look in the mirror first and you own it. And you may not have control. They give you some stats like you have control over maybe 5% of your life. 95% of the situations in your life are circumstances outside of your control. But the 5% of your life that you have control over are your attitudes and your response to any situation or any person that's in your life. Nobody can take that away from you. And so what you're going to say when I want to be a responsible person is I'm going to take ownership of that 5% to make that I am a trustworthy, dependable, man of integrity, so that I can say I did exactly what I wanted to do with that 5%. So you look in the mirror first, and secondly, I would just say start small. You're like, I don't want all these responsibilities. I don't want. I'll ask you this: do you want freedom? Because with great freedom comes what? Great responsibility. So if you want freedom, like driving a car, or you want your parents to let you hang out with your friends longer, or stay out later, have a different curfew. If you want freedom, then you have to be able to embrace responsibility. And if you embrace responsibility, what you're going to find is you experience purpose. There is no man who is responsible for things and who is living their life stewarding the things that God has put in their life and entrusted them with, who does not gain a tremendous sense of purpose. For me, I have 4 sons. He said we have a school over in Africa. All these other things that I am a part of and I'm in charge of, or have some stewardship over, it gives me so much joy and so much purpose. Like I wake up every day and it's not about me. And this is my goal with ball players. They got to begin to wake up, and the universe cannot revolve around them. How do I help them understand that they actually have a gift that can bless the life of somebody else? Okay, their platform, their opportunity, how can they bless? How can they support? How can they help somebody else? And that's kind of what I'm there to do, I think, is to remove them from being the center of their solar system to putting people, others in the center. So I appreciate this opportunity. I want to encourage you as you consider your own responsibilities to recognize that when you embrace them, you're going to find purpose on the other side of that, all right?
Awesome. Real quick, Geoff,
Yeah.